Underway. Right on. Hey, everybody, welcome back. We are now in the month of December, the 10th, Yahoo, as we wrap up 2018. And I don't know about you, but the buzz is out there for everybody. All the chatter, all the dialogue is extremely positive. So 2018 was a formidable year, I believe, for setting in motion a new wave of momentum. It's been a long time coming, but I feel that the elements of the percolating of it is there, and we're starting to see bubbles of it. I don't know how you guys did volume-wise in November, but my goodness, it was an explosion. Personally, I can tell you I haven't seen this kind of income in a decade, so this is pretty exciting to see. The curve is on the way up. And that's huge. You know, what it takes to create momentum in any environment in business is it's not a small task. It's a collaborative effort. It takes the collective energy, the collective vision of all the people, all the players, all the stakeholders. And the bigger you are, the harder it is to change the momentum. You know, it's just like a big car or a big bus. If you have a small car, you can pretty much knock it over with the wind. But if you got a big locomotive or a big tractor trailer, it's pretty hard to get that thing off course. So same thing with a business like ours. The bigger the business is, the harder it is to create a new wave or a change in direction. And so it's been a long time coming, but the elements of it are there. It's in place. We're starting to see on a measurable, tangible level that it's actually here. I want to, first of all, thank everybody who helped last week's call. I finally got a chance to post. I came home late last night. So if you haven't seen last week's playback of the call, I'm just going to mute that line. It keeps unmuting itself. That's now posted on the Launch Partners, and it's posted on the chat, or excuse me, the channel for YouTube for the Royal Alliance. If you're not sure where all these videos end up, everything that has theroyalalliance.com/live as it's linked to join a webinar, those videos, if recorded, end up at the YouTube channel of the Royal Alliance. So you can find an archive of this call, Aligning with Success, an archive of the calls that Ben has done on Tuesday, the leadership calls, and many, many other calls are there, including some really great videos of presentations. And so thank you, Maggie, Cheryl, Dee, Suzanne, Gary, all those who participated last week in last week's call while I was away on vacation and enjoying myself in the sunny beaches of Barbados. My goodness, if you've not been there, you gotta go. You just simply gotta go. And what a thrill, what a treat. I'm at the airport getting ready to leave. And who do I run into but the Europeans who were there on their cruise. They were finishing their cruise, and their last port of call was Barbados, and so they were at the airport as they were flying off to Gatwick. It was cool to meet up with them and say hello. Anyway, I wanted to do a quick recap before I get into some content, and then maybe open the floor for WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a brilliant tool. Everyone I introduce to Niken, if I enroll somebody, the first thing I tell them is there's two things you need to be hooked into if you want to be able to communicate with me and the rest of the Niken family. And that is a Zoom, which we're on right now, and WhatsApp, which has become the most formidable communication tool technology on the planet. And what's so great about WhatsApp is pretty much everything you can do with a laptop with documents and sharing communication and information, you can do with your phone through WhatsApp. And it warehouses all that stuff. Every time you send somebody a message, or you share a picture or a document or video link or any of those things, that a PDF file, an Excel spreadsheet, beautiful things that we can share, then, and you can share it on all cross platforms. You can go from a WhatsApp document or photo and send it to somebody on regular messenger or email it to them. It gives you the option as to how you want to forward it to them. But it's all stored in on your phone in your app. And when you switch phones and you switch your, you upload and log in on your app, it's all there again. So everybody you're sending messages to, whenever you send them something, a link of some kind or a video of some kind, in their chat with you is contained all of that. Similarly, when you start a group chat like we have with the launch partners, like we have with tools, and just a footnote for tools, because I have to still remind everyone, tools chat is strictly a tools platform to share tools, not dialogue, not chats, not comments. I know you love this stuff. And if you do love this stuff, bite your hand. Just don't chat on that chat or chat somewhere else. Tell other people about it, but don't remind the same people what we already know. And of course, the logic behind that is simple. There may be 100 or 200 people on a chat line, and you say, wow, that was really great. Well, 200 people don't need to know that. That's just the simplicity of it. So, and you multiply that by 15 other people commenting, and it's 200 people times 15 messages. What happens then is people start to do what they do in every other form of communication. They tune out. And we don't want them to tune out to important messages, especially messages that are on the tools, because we're sharing important tools that can help them in building their business. And let me define building the business, because that's sometimes a little vague. You're either recruiting people into your organization or you're selling products. That's building your business. Everything else is not. Let's be clear about that. Motivating and inspiring is not building your business. Building your business is what it takes to recruit somebody, what it takes to sell some product, and those are tools. They're tools that we use all the time that help us facilitate that process of sales or enrollment. But downline motivation, things like that, that's another separate matter, and we don't really get into that on the tools chat. We get into that on calls like this call and others like this call, and you'll find the library of those videos available to you through the channel for the Royal Alliance. So let me get back to this point about WhatsApp, how brilliant this app is. So let me just go to the tools chat. So I'm on the tools chat. Now I know with iPhones it's one thing. Let me switch this camera to speaker view. I can see it a little bit bigger. Okay, so I know with iPhones, you see the screens a little bit different than you might do with other platforms, but they're pretty much the same. The tool is the tool. At the top, you see the title, tools, bracket, do not comment, tools. So when I click on that link, when I actually click on the title, which says tools, what happens is it opens up into a submenu, and that submenu has, let me see if I can get this to work for you here. That submenu has, there we go, a bunch of stuff about it, including who's on it and yada yada. So there's certain things that you'll see and certain things that you won't see. But there you will see, I believe you all get to see who's actually on the chat, which means if you want to send a message to that somebody who's on this chat, you can. You just find their name, click on their name, and it gives you options. What do you want to do with that person? You can look at their information, you can voice call, video call, send a message, etc. So that's really cool. But what I think is brilliant about this is that link up there that says media, links, and docs. If you click on that, or whatever version of that you will find in your resource on your phone, you'll see that there's some options, media, links, docs. So I can look at everything that I've ever posted on this channel, or everything that's been sent or has been posted on this channel chronologically right here. Everything. So I have a quick access to stuff. If I remember, oh, where was that water product? I want to do a little promo or something. There it is. I can click on it, and then I can just do something with it. I can forward it. I can send it in a message. And how do I do that? Those little buttons at the bottom tell you what you can do with the thing. The one that has an arrow button right here, and I'm going to see if I can get that into focus. See, it's not focusing well. There. That little arrow button, that is the forward. How to forward something. So I can forward something by clicking on it. I can forward it. I can share it. I can save it. Let's say I click forward. I can forward it to somebody. Okay, so There's different things I can do it. If I save it onto my phone in a different way, then I can email it, I can do all kinds of things. But let me get to the other links. That's media. There's links. That means every video and every link that I've ever shared since you've been on the tools chat, so once you join a group, and only once you join it, do you then have access to that information. You don't have access to the past. So if you enroll somebody in Nikan and you want to have them join the tools chat so that they can have access to this or any other group chat, then there may be some things that you know are important for them. For instance, one of the things that I like to share is contact and invite. Well, it's in there on my library, but it's not going to be in there on somebody that just joined the chat. So I will forward a bunch of the stuff. I'll go through these links and I'll say, oh, they got to have this. Oh, they got to have this. Oh, they got to have this. And I start forwarding the stuff that they need to have. And then it starts populating it on their phone. So then they will have it to forward to others. So it's a great, great tool for instant access to resources like videos, documents, etc. So all the links, all the video links are here under links. Any type of video that I shared or whatever, it's all there. And then if you click documents, documents has all the documents that have been uploaded, PDFs, etc. are all there. So here's a great resource for a great tool. And so one of the things that I find is happening quite a bit in Latin America, including with the company, by the way, Nikan Latin America, they create group chats. They create group chats around groups that they want to stay connected to, and they'll segregate. So they'll have a leadership group, they'll have a group in a certain area, and so they start creating chats that are group messages, and they define what the purpose of those groups are so that they can keep the content relevant. But what's great about that is then that they can communicate instantly thoughts and ideas and messages that are relevant to a particular group. And so one thing I want to encourage you to do is look at how you can start creating some of your own messages or group chats, and then follow some kind of protocol. You'll find, as I have, that it's important to start getting familiar with protocol, because otherwise those chats become water. And what I mean by water is we love to talk to ourselves in Nikan. This is like a collective group kumbaya. We just love to, that was great, that was wonderful, congratulations, and it's like 50 million different times somebody says that for one message. Then what happens is people start to tune out, and then that group chat becomes very ineffective. So try and prevent that from happening by setting some type of a protocol. What is this group chat about? And when people are invited to it, just let them know. And then you'll be much more effective in your communications. But WhatsApp, what a brilliant tool. Any questions about that? Okay, no. All right. Well, I'm hoping that you guys are starting to or create your own group chats, because it is a very useful way to focus on some things. One of the things that I thought we would focus on, since we are coming in at the end of the year, and we're about to go into 2019 with retro rockets on, is some objectives. Looking at real objectivity. I think one of the things that we tend to fall short on when we work in groups, and this has been my experience all throughout Nikan, so this is not personal, this is not something new. My experience in Nikan is when you generalize messages and when you generalize communications, conversations, etc., then you tend to get away from objective thinking and objective objectives, specific objectives like setting goals, achieving goals, or working toward executing certain plans, even creating plans. We start to speak in generalities. And while it's all great, it's all good content, nobody's going to get a paycheck for knowing information. Nobody's getting paid for what you know. You only get paid for creating a result in Nikan. And so as captains of your own business, as CEOs, chief executive officers of your own companies, we must transition from the employee mentality, which is I get paid to be there, I get paid to show up, I get paid to appear to be doing something, including talking at the watering station, versus owning your own business, which means if you don't put food on the table, if the money's not in there, you can't pay the bills, you can't make it go, you can't grow the business. So it's got to become a business of being much more objective. And so becoming objective means being held accountable and holding yourself accountable to something. So what is that thing? It could be a measure of activity, which is a good idea. There should be what I consider daily activities that without fail, as the CEO of your company, you adhere to. So what are those things, those handful of things that you cannot go a day not doing, or you're failing your company as its CEO? That's a really good exercise in looking at what are those handful of things that if I'm not doing every single day, I'm failing my company as its chief executive officer. I should fire myself. So you start becoming objective about whether the activities that you're doing matter. Do those activities actually do anything? Do they produce a result that's consistent with the bigger objective, which is to grow your organization, to grow your volume, to grow your income? So that's one. And then the other thing about being objective is, will you allow somebody else to hold you accountable? Now, this is really big. Gary, I know, for instance, you're a great example of this. You, for many years, have talked about the relationship you had with your upline and how closely you worked with him, who was a very avid businessman and entrepreneur. Would you share maybe a little bit about the insights you gained from being mentored, the idea of being mentored, even allowing yourself to be mentored?
Well, Jim changed me in so many ways. I mean, when I met Jim, I wasn't a positive thinker. And, you know, he was quoting all these books that everyone needs to read. And I thought all those were Jim's ideas until later on, you know, I found out they were written by Napoleon Hill and all these other people. And he used to tell me stories, and I always, you know, assign them to Jim. It was more, what I'm trying to say, it was more than just what to do in business. My background in banking, I understood business and understood sales and understood what to do there. But as far as, I never had to learn how to motivate people, really. I mean, just to get them to show up to work was my main goal when I had people under me at the bank. As long as they showed up, you know, we had a body at every desk, I felt pretty good about myself. But in this type business, you have to motivate them to do more, you know, to be more. And Jim attempted to do that with me. He not only changed my brain, the way I thought about things, you know, just waking up every morning, you know, every day I think is a great day. Well, before Jim, I didn't think every day was a great day. You know, I thought, oh, no, I got to do this or I got to do that. It's going to be a bad day. So not only did he change me, but by changing me, he showed me what, you know, how to motivate other people, I think. I would not be here today if it weren't for Jim Starnes and all the lessons that he taught me. I think everybody needs to search out someone that, you know, we have 5 areas that we need to work on to be happy, I think. And Jim was instrumental in getting that point across to me.
Of course, you're referring to 5 pillars.
Exactly.
Right.
And I'd never heard anything like that. You know, I knew how to read a ballot sheet, and I knew how to look over income tax returns, and, you know, knew how to do projections as far as businesses was concerned. But, you know, those are just numbers on a piece of paper. What we do is so much more than that. You know, we motivate people to be more than what they are today. And I never even considered that. It was a foreign thought to me. And you can find people in this company that can teach you those skill sets. If it is indeed a skill set, I think it's more of a transition of a way to think. And I think you go through phases. When you're first in, you need pep talks, but after a while, you're naturally pepped, and you don't need those talks anymore. You just need to learn how to be motivated first yourself, and in that way, you could motivate others. And Jim Starnes was the very best at that, for me.
Fantastic. Hey, Gary, just a thought. Your microphone is at your voice level, so it's popping quite a bit. If you drop it maybe a little bit more, if that's possible, you'll be able to avoid that popping sound. That's okay. That'll be much better.
See, I'm learning tonight.
Hey, listen, this is what I use. Well, it's hard for me to grab this one. I use this big guy here. This is really cool, because if I want to sound like a radio broadcaster, I can. Anyway,
there you go.
Real cheap thing that you just plug into your. Anyway, I digressed. But thanks for that. I think that's a really important point, that if we're going to have some level of growth in our business, then obviously that comes from growth within ourselves. And it's, especially when you're new, you're so familiar with who you are, and you may be hopeful about a person or the virtue, what you might become, but to have actually somebody who you admire and respect, who may be further down the road than you are, that can help guide you, and to give yourself, be open to being vulnerable to that, and not take it personally. Sometimes it gets personal, but don't take it personally. Then what you're giving yourself is the opportunity to expand and to see the world from a different point of view. And as you pointed out, Gary, there's 5 pillars in Nikken: mind, body, family, society, finances. And we want to improve and expand in each of those areas in a way that gives us happiness and fulfillment. Of course, for most people, the motivation for building a Nikken business, the starting point for why they're doing a Nikken business, we all say, well, I got really excited about the products. Well, that's not a reason to do the business. I think that's a great reason to buy the products and to use the products. But building the business is about developing oneself. And at the end of the day, it's really about shifting your mindset from someone who is familiar with trading time for money, perhaps, which is the lion's share of the population, to transitioning to the other side of the equation, which Robert Kiyosaki talks about, and that's learning how to be a collaborative entrepreneur. In fact, the best business people in the world, the brightest in the business world, are people who have surrounded themselves with people that are even brighter than them. And so the real smart ones are the ones who are humble enough to recognize they don't need to know everything. They can surround themselves with people who are able to add to the pie and make the pie a fuller experience. And so this is really, really important, especially for new people who come from the entrepreneurial world. And this is something I talk about, by the way, when I'm prospecting. When I'm talking to a potential business partner, one of the things I want to remind them of is that what comes with their registration in Nikken is an association to an existing group of people who are already skilled, motivated, and capable of assisting them, and will do so for free. That is almost an impossibility in the world of business. You don't get that in business. If you're looking for help, you better be prepared to pay for it. Those are called consultants, and you got to hire them. And so here in Nikken, we have an entourage of assistants, consultants who have much more experience than us, that we have access to if we allow ourselves to gain access to them, which means we have to move away from the mindset that I have to know everything, I have to be everything, I have to do everything. And that is a mindset that's very deep within the consciousness of somebody who's been an employee most of their life, because that's been expected of you. It's been expected of you in the entrepreneurial world, or in the business world as an employee. It's been expected of you to do better than what's expected of you in order for you to get a promotion. I mean, today, what's expected of an employee is they work more hours than they're actually paid for. That's expected. You don't even have to think about that. That's expected now. Whereas once upon a time, it used to be like time and a half for overtime. Now it's like, you're just going to work until you're not going to work, and it's expected of you. You should be lucky that you have this job. There's this underlaying idea that you're fortunate, you're lucky that you got this job, that you're being employed. So there's a higher level of expectation that you're going to be overworked and work more hours than you're actually paid. And so when you shift over to the entrepreneurial mindset, the advantage here is the work that you're doing, even if it is working overtime, is for yourself, is you're building an asset. Now, this is a huge shift in thinking, building an asset versus trading time for money. Even though you're in Nikken, and I'm going to ask you to do this because I'm going to ask you to look at, and I did this last year, this time of year, I asked you to take stock of what the previous year looked like. Like, look at your expectations, your goals, your level of activity. Look at it, whether you set yourself up to win, whether you followed through, etc. Hold yourself accountable. Put your feet to the fire, because this is a growth opportunity. This is a growth moment, is to look at where you have perhaps failed yourself as a CEO. Maybe you were acting like an employee who was looking to do the minimum instead of an entrepreneur who's looking to gain the maximum. And that's a mindset. Even though you are in Nikken, which gives you an endless possibility, you may still treat it like an employee. You'll still come to this opportunity with the mindset of an employee, and then go about the business of being an employee within your own business. So you're minimizing the potential. And so what we're hoping to do, especially in 2019, is to raise the bar to a whole new level. I came from Latin America 2 weeks ago. I went to the convention. I mentioned this in the previous call. And the managing director of Nikken Latin America and the sales director of Nikken Latin America, both on stage together, informed their leaders that they were expecting exponential growth in 2019, not linear growth. Now, given what I saw in November's volume, I think their volume in November over the previous month. What's the month? October. The month of November's volume over October in Latin America was at least 280%. I don't have the final figure. I didn't look at it, but 280% over the previous month. We're not talking about 10% or 20%. We're talking 280% when I last checked over the previous month. Now that's a lot of volume, and that's a lot of people at the same time doing it. It's not one person. Now, if you have an organization of one, and you sponsor somebody and you just doubled your volume, you did 200% growth right there, right? We're talking about thousands of people who did 280% growth in a month. That is a lot of people working together to create an outcome. And so the transition from going from linear growth to exponential growth is just that. It's everybody all in, all at the same time. Get your oars in the water and everybody pulling at the same time. And then the boat starts to fly. And so that's what's imminent right now, is what I sense about our activities in 2018 in North America. And so I want to just ask you all to take real serious stock of your business. Go through your monthly business. Look at every check, plot it. Look at it and say, okay, what was the percentage growth this month over that month? And look at how it's behaved. Then look at your own activity and any of the goals that you may have set. Did you achieve them? Did you not achieve them? If you did not achieve them, look at your activities and say, okay, did I fall short in terms of my activities? And it's easy to note what your activities are because you can look at your calendar. How did you fill your calendar? Was it a full calendar or a fool's calendar? That was a term we used to use back in the day. Was it a full calendar or a fool's calendar? And so what is a fool's calendar? Well, it looks busy, but there's nothing actually that you're doing that's productive. that can produce a result that will advance your business by either sales of products or new enrollees. So be serious about this exercise of going through your business, because the only way you're going to learn is by making mistakes and by evaluating what you could have done better. That's the only way you're going to actually grow. And then ask somebody maybe to look at that. I'm certainly open to helping people develop their business plan for 2019. So in light of that then, where 2019 is concerned, we're going to suggest that you make a goal of achieving each of the incentives in the incentive program that Nikan is going to give us shortly. And if it looks anything like the incentive program that they laid in 2018, I would go further than this was not just an incentive program. I think what they gave us was a business plan. It was a very well-constructed business plan, because if you started with the first power start and you achieve that, and then you go to the next one, then you go to the next one, then you go to the next one, you would have been rank advancing the whole time. So the actual incentives were designed to create a behavior, but one on top of the next, propelling you to the next level of achievement. Not only that, but the incentives were cumulative. So you could earn on top of the same volume the next incentive. That's unheard of in most businesses. So you're able to double dip essentially on the incentive plan and create multiple benefits in terms of income and trips on the same volume of the previous month. So I'm really hoping that the incentive program for 2019 looks an awful lot like the one that they did for 2018. That would be an absolute gift. But I would recommend each of us set an objective to win each incentive that we can possibly qualify for, because then what you set is a tone for your business. What you also put in motion is momentum, and you now are able to say without question, you know how to do what it is that we're asking people to do, qualify for these incentives. And if you do it, the tendency for you to duplicate goes through the roof. I don't know if you've noticed this, but when you first bought a product, any of the Nikan products, you probably became a very avid seller of that product. My guess is you became very good at marketing that product because it was something that you took ownership of, it's something that you personally experienced, and something you speak firsthand about. And you could do it with confidence because you owned that idea. It's the same with the business. When you achieve a certain achievement within the context of our compensation plan or incentive program, then you're able to teach somebody else or work with somebody else with a high degree of confidence because you own it. It's not make-believe, it's something you own. And I know for those of us, and by the way, that was my motivation. I was asked, I think in my interview, Nikan a few months back, what was my motivation for doing Team Kaizen? I don't know if you all know this, but I was the highest organization volume, PGV volume in North America and Latin and Europe last year. And that was as a Royal Diamond, as a person who launched the travel campaign that I'm pretty sure you guys remember. I was traveling to one city after another all year last year with the promotion that we did. And so on top of that, I broke 4 silvers actually. I qualified for Team Kaizen. I mean, all the things that I could possibly do, I did. Paragon as well, because I did 4 within 3 months. And I did that. My only motivation for doing that was to say, hey guys, I technically can sit back and coast pretty much the rest of my life. But if I don't, and I show you that I can still get into the trenches and really produce results at the level that we're expecting others to who are new in the business, then it's doable. Anybody can get off their high horse and do it at any point in time. They decide to do it, regardless of how long you've been in the business, regardless of what your rank is, regardless of what your current results are. Doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, I had to brush off a bunch of stuff because, I wasn't in the trenches the same way as I would have been. So I had to start over and get that ball rolling just like everybody else did. That's why I did it. And I qualified this year for Team Kaizen based on the criteria that they gave us as well. And the reason, again, is because, number one, I like those trips. And the next one's to Italy. So, I mean, who talking to an Italian, how can I not go? So that's one reason. But more importantly, most importantly, is people follow the leader. And how do you know a leader is leading? Not because they're visible. That is not a measure of leadership. It's easy to be visible today. I can be visible on Facebook. I can be visible on Instagram. I can be visible on YouTube. I mean, there's so many ways I can be visible. That's not proof that I'm leading. Proof is I've got numbers on the scoreboard, just like I was a brand new consultant. That's the evidence. And so you want to take up that mantle, because what's going to follow you is the same kind of results that are following me. And I want that for you, because you know what I love about this business? As much as we do and as much as we've done so little in the grand scheme of what needs to be done and what can be done to make an impact in the world of health, the way we do, and finance, the way we do in NECAN. So I'm not shy about telling people there's a golden opportunity here, because our market penetration is virtually non-existent. That's the measure of an opportunity, not how long you've been doing it. How much of the market have you penetrated? That's the measure of an opportunity. Ask any business person, they'll tell you, is what you're doing relevant? Number one, does it matter what you're doing? Is what your product or services being offered, do they offer real value? Yes or no? Do people want what you offer? Yes or no? That's going to tell you whether you're relevant. Now they're going to say, who's competing with you? What's your position in the marketplace? What's your penetration? Well, when you put all the numbers together, we are absolutely at the infancy of what's possible. And we have generations behind us that are just as needy about this as we are. I don't know if you saw today's post, and I'm going to shut up after this and open the floor. But after today, I posted a link that was sent to me that factually verified the effect of grounding on infants who are highly susceptible. For instance, infants that are born premature, they're put in incubators, and these incubators are plugged in and running electricity through them to function, and those are causing electrical currents through the actual fetus or through the body of the infant. And so they're able to measure the electrical frequency, which is 60 hertz. Of course it is, because that's what the frequency of the electricity is through those units. And so our bodies are constantly susceptible to these frequencies that are foreign to us. Then they measured, what is this? I forget what it's called, but it has to do with their heart, that affects their heart rate and affects the health of the being. And they were able to measure that. And there was a 67% increase based on whether the machine was plugged in or not. 67%. This is huge. That's not small. So they were so surprised statistically that this had that big of an impact. And what they were able to do was reduce the impact of the EMF, the electromagnetic frequency, the frequency of that unit, by grounding the infant through an electrical conductor. The same, if some of you watched the video that Gary Bolton put on today on the Launch Partners chat or the Tools chat, explained grounding, how your house is grounded. By doing that, they were able to reduce the impact by 95% on that infant. Now, think about this for a second, guys. What is affecting our bodies right now that nobody's really, really being honest about, but we know? We instinctively know, we intuitively know, and we're starting to see evidence of course, Wi-Fi. And the idea that they're going to put this 5G in circulation, that's going to be Wi-Fi on steroids. So this causes electrically induced currents in our body. How do we neutralize them? How do we deal with this? You can't hide from this stuff. And the answer is going to be grounding. You watch grounding become the most significant breakthrough of this decade. It's going to have to be, because it's the only thing as an engineer that I can tell you that I know, short of you walking around in a metal cage, which I don't think you're going to be doing in the near future. That's how we're going to be able to protect ourselves, is by neutralizing the impact of these currents that are being generated by all these frequencies. So this is huge. What kind of a business opportunity if the only thing we were selling was the grounding pad? We'd have a multi-billion-dollar opportunity just with that one product. So we have a huge opportunity, but it's only going to be huge for you personally, if you start to treat it a little bit more objectively, by setting real objectives, by asking yourself to be accountable to those objectives, from daily activities to weekly activities, and make sure those activities are producing a result that's consistent with what is a result in our business. Aligning your objectives with the Nikken incentive program, because it's a win-win-win when you do that. And then allowing yourself to be held accountable by people who are further down the road than you are. Like, let them see your vulnerability. They can only help. They will help. I don't know of an upline in Nikken that's not sitting there chomping at the bit waiting to help. So that's the one thing you can get if you ask, is help. But make sure the help isn't generic. We don't need generic help. We need objective help. We need, I need to know what the situation is so I can help you solve the problem, resolve the issue. So be objective about your approach to the business so that you can start putting numbers on the scoreboard yourself and increasing those numbers where you're able to meet the expectations that you set for yourself, and then lead a generation because you own it. Anyone want to jump in and add some commentary to our conversation tonight? Well, it's a quiet one. Yes, go ahead, Gary.
You mentioned one thing earlier about momentum. Of course, you either have it or you don't. And I posted on Facebook, I guess it's been a couple of years ago, I was bragging because there's a website, Business from Home, and they post the direct sales momentum of the top 200. And we were at 149 at that point in time, and I was bragging on us because we'd broken the top 150. Well, I checked it last week, and we're 82nd. And I mean, what a huge jump. And this is in the last year. So the opportunity's there. It's just like Mike says, it's just time to stand up and let people know what we have. I mean, it's not just an incredible opportunity. It's an incredible lifestyle. You learn things that aren't just about finances, but that cover all the 5 pillars of health. And I think that's why we've gained such momentum. And this momentum has taken place again in the last year. And I think a lot of it has to do with Mike and his willingness to travel around the country and jet here and jet there and be willing to motivate people. So, I mean, I know I'm a banker. I'm a reform banker. I say I need quantitative numbers for me to be able to say something. And I go to that section, and I hadn't been in over a year. And when I checked it last week, I was just shocked. I said, wow, what happened? So I had to think and look back and say, well, what did happen? And, of course, we all know that Mike and some other leaders stepped up and did what they did. Imagine if we all did that, what we could do.
And we should. We have all the reason for it. I know you have your own. Thank you, Gary. I know we all have our own personal reasons for doing better, being better. And if we do that collectively, commit, then the collective commitment is going to be there's an expression in the that says where 2 or more are gathered, and I think that's the point of that whole collaborative experience, that if we can collaborate and unify our activities and share our best practices, then we're going to experience that accelerated growth. And within that, it's like the stock market. you know, if the stock market is going this way and you own stock, you're going to do well. So what we want to do is we want to get the thing going this way so that if you're in that, you're going to be caught by that wave and do well. And that just means everybody with the oars in the water pulling at the same time. But the difference between 2018 and 2019, what I'm asking to be different so that the experience is different, is a new level of objectivity. You know, it's great to feel great. It's great to express our feelings and to be in touch with our feelings. In fact, I guess I gave that book away. One of the books that I've been promoting recently by Greg Braden, The Lost Art of, you got it, Lost Power of Prayer. Or what's the actual title? The Lost Mode of Prayer. Beautiful. The Lost Mode of Prayer. You know, just even if we just collectively read this book as an example. So if we did that, then what we're getting on is on a frequency where we start to understand that feeling is the prayer. And it's important to feel a certain way. And then to translate that feeling into action, to act consistent with the feeling. And so when you're feeling the right feeling and you're acting the right way, you should be thinking pretty big. You can afford big thoughts. Thoughts like objectives to qualify for Team Kaizen, win the contests, earn the income. Those are things that are naturally occurring when you allow yourself to experience the feeling as if it's so, if it's true. And instead of holding back. And I know we shy away from money in Nikken because we're so focused on health and well-being, but money is such a big factor. You know, it costs me money to go on vacation to Barbados. It's not the cheapest place to go, trust me. And I really like going there. And I want to go there more often. And I want to bring more people with me. So that takes income, that takes money. But if the money that you're earning is in direct proportion to the good that you're doing, then how much is enough? There shouldn't be a cap. So be flamboyant about those expectations. Be expectant. You guys are so qualified. You really are. I mean, in the world of wellness, and you're connected to the finest wellness company in the world. 43-year history. The most remarkable products that have proven themselves year after year, generation after generation. You're plugged in. It's not like you're not plugged in. You are plugged in. It's like you're one of the first people on the planet to be plugged into the internet. That's power. But what you do with it is going to determine the life and the lifestyle that you enjoy because of it. So make the most of this opportunity. Don't make the least of it. Make the most of it. Any final thoughts before we wrap up? Anyone new on the call? Yes, go ahead. Sandra.
I am just so impressed with how healthy mentally being in Nikken is. I come from an educational background. And there, even if you've got a PhD, it doesn't matter because there's some that have 2 and 3. But when you see the quality of their joy, the quality of what they aspire to, and then being in that group, you see how people are stabbing each other, and they're jealous. They don't know anything about people's personal lives, but yet it's like it's like a thing of crabs. And what I so enjoy and what I want us to really appreciate is not just the camaraderie, but the richness of the best practices that are shared in ways that people can grab them and use them. It is just so refreshing. I think I'd be in Nikken even if it weren't for the money, because it's mentally wise. I don't know if I'm saying it well, but we have a wealth of what really makes mental health. And that is joy, peace, genuine friendship. And I'm just surprised at how I can call anybody. I mean, Mr. Foley knows me by name because I'm in his face when we're at events, and I send him little things because he matters. But like one prospect said, you know, the CEO of your company, you all mingle with the people that are making the money. And then I realized how very unusual that is. So it's just a gift. And my head is just off to all you guys. And I'm just pleased, like my name's not up here, but you call me by name. I keep telling people this organization is different. And I just find it so refreshing. And I just enjoy all of us so much that I have to work sometimes at doing dinner because I want to get on with calling another prospect. And I know I got to take care of the home front, but I want to do the work of Nikan because it's not work. It's energizing, it's refreshing, and it's just healthy. So I just love that we're healthy people helping other people be healthy. But the aspects of what we have, I don't even think we've calculated it well enough because I don't see us smiling enough. You know, it's like notify your face that your body is doing something you like. So thank you, Mike, and thank you to all you top guys because you really are approachable.
Thank you. Well, I tell you, it's a joy for us. It really is. We're fed by this, just like you. We're just at a different stage of the business, maybe, but it feels the same. That joy, that passion, that sense of the need to be purposeful. My affirmation that I read out loud every day to myself is about I live a joyful, purposeful life, and I'm at my best when I'm right here with you guys doing my business, sharing this business with other people, no matter where I am. Even in Barbados, I was sharing. So, I mean, I can't stop that because that would take me away from who I am, a purposeful person, and that's, I think, the greatest gift we can give anybody is a sense of purpose. But that means a vehicle that is all encompassing. It's got to be about more than just the money. But yeah, the money's got to be there too, in a way that doesn't take you away from what gives you joy. So it's all there, guys. We have it all. We need to go into 2019. We need to be incredibly grateful for the blessings of 2018 and to go into 2019 with an expectation that something magical and different is happening. And this is the year to really go exponential. I see your finger up. Okay, go ahead, jump in.
I'm sorry, a practical matter. Would it be okay for you to list where we're to send what we think's a good idea to put on tools?
Oh, send it to me.
How?
Oh, just use use WhatsApp. Send me a WhatsApp message with the thing that you want, or email me.
That's what I was thinking, a proper email so that we send it to the right place.
Yeah, and just, again, this is sort of the beginning of the call, but to characterize the tools chat, the idea is, does this tool belong in the process of our daily or our weekly or our monthly activities? Because those are the things that enhance our ability, our growth in our organization. Does it help us recruit somebody into Nikan, or our downline recruit someone into Nikan? Or does it help us market the products because there's more information about the product or the technology behind it or something like that? That's really the nature of those tools. We've sort of shied away from being a motivational channel because then otherwise what happens is it gets really cloudy. What tool? And then you got so many of them in one place that you're not sure which one does anything. And when you start having to share, like I've had to do, you start having to share the tools to other people who are just joining. And the bigger the list is, the harder it is to figure out and remember which tool is what. So one of the things that we are working on in 2019, myself, Susan Carver, and Ben Woodward, is the streamlining of that process for some type of an online. We've got a few things that we're looking at, which will give us a very simple but robust online methodology for sharing, so that when somebody becomes enrolled with Nikan, it's not as challenging to figure out what's step number one, what's step number two. If it's all kind of there, it's, step number one, step number two, and it's all there. Then as we modify the tool, improve the tool, it doesn't change the process. It's just flip it out that tool and put a new one in. So that's the goal for 2019 for us, is to have an online system, because to go into exponential growth, that means what limits your ability to grow is your ability to duplicate knowledge, duplicate consciousness. And so you have to imagine what the world would be like if nobody ever invented the printing press. We'd still be trying to pass messages on word of mouth. The reliability of that and the ability to duplicate that is really limited. But once it's printed, now we can accelerate how fast somebody gets the message and gets the know-how. So that's where that's coming. The question is, where is this in WhatsApp? Where is what in WhatsApp? I'm not sure what that question was.
Your email, which Susanna sent me, on the chat.
Okay, very good. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And
forgive me again. The problem is that when I have a new person like myself who's not used to the technology, gets all confused, we send them to get a WhatsApp down, go to tools, keep in touch. My question was, is there a place on WhatsApp I can tell them to look for to be sure if they have a bright idea, that's where they want to send it?
No. It's WhatsApp is just a platform. So WhatsApp is a platform. It's not a web page per se. It's just like it's a messenger tool. So I'm saying if you have something that you want vetted with respect to a tool, I'm your guy. I'm not the only one, but I'm one of the ones that is monitoring this particular chat, the tools chat. I guess at this point in time, that's pretty much all there is. There are a bunch of great tools already there that have been shared. If you're wondering what tools to use, for instance, Nikan just launched a new video in Spanish, in French, and English. I hope you guys have all seen that one. Don't forget, Nikan also has its channel, the YouTube channel, where anything new from Nikan ends up on the headquarters channel. Plug into Nikan's Facebook channel. I would even go so far as to plug into Nikan Latin America's Facebook channel, because they do a lot of wonderful things in Spanish, and there has been a movement started in North America in 2018 that is really growing quickly, and that is the Hispanic movement in North America. So chances are pretty good you're going to have some Hispanic people on your team or going to track them, so be familiar with some of the materials that are happening there. There are two WhatsApp chat groups that you want to know about that you can add your new people to. One's called LP Expansion, stands for Launch Partner Expansion. That's one chat group that is open to everyone. And then there is the TNG Expansion, that's short for Team Nikan Global. That was the Hispanic one. The TNG Expansion WhatsApp chat group is for those members in North America and Latin America interested in developing the market in North America through the Hispanic community. So that chat's alive and active. So these are kind of like online communities, so to speak, where they can stay in touch. There's always announcements of calls that are coming up, promotional materials, things like that run through those chats. So, and we're getting better at it. Every year we're getting better at this. So I expect 2019 will be a solid year for all of us, because we've been building for this. We have really been wrapping up and building for this. And so I think the reason why my message is be objective about it is because our time is going to become much more precious with the acceleration. When you have more people, you have to be much more particular about who you invest your time in. And that means you've got to become much more objective about who you invest your time in and why you're doing it. So increase your level of objectivity right now. Look back on 2018, evaluate what you could have done different, and make those cornerstones of your activities, your daily metrics, your DMO, your daily method of operation, your weekly, and start looking at the incentive program that Nikan comes out with early on to meet the incentives. You guys could all be on Team Kaizen in 2019, because the way they designed the program is that it can be done. In fact, there are people striving for it this month who are not even platinum this month, going for Team Kaizen in the final month of the year. That's how doable this is. So, and these are people who may have just joined in the last 2 or 3 months. So be sure that whatever they put out with in terms of the incentive is doable. You can do it. Best you do it. That way you own it, you benefit from it, and more importantly, you can duplicate it because you can teach it. So again, thanks for being on the call tonight, guys. We went a little bit over time, but I appreciate the input. And I look forward to more of these calls with you. Happy Hanukkah to anyone who's celebrating that out there. And cheers, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.